patchy stuff.
Yeah, well, me too. I mean, I had a good dream last night, but that one I had about the hi Gary
Hi.
about the you know, here I'm just telling you that this is what my anima has been. That unless I spend an hour of work on dreams every day, that you know, if you know, to be midwife to her, that she is going to shun me, you know. So, you know, it's really it's just so feminine to do that kind of thing. I mean, close to nature, taking her products. She says, I'm not going to send you anymore if you don't make use of the ones that you have, you know. And I mean, I'm just
Mine never holds out. She never holds out. She always sends more.
yeah, my wife
It'll be coming. Yeah, it'll be coming.
my wife and I are going to I'm going to her analysis by a so-called Jungian analyst tomorrow, and we'll see what happens there. But you know, we
There was a lot. I was reading Kalchek's book, Trauma in the Soul, and I'm about to get through with it. And, there's a chapter on all these Jungian body workers. I mean, he lists about 10 of them. I'm going to research them a little bit. But Kalchek sends them over there. He says the trauma gets in your body. He can't do much for that. He sends them to these Jungian body workers, you know, to get to the trauma. You know, it's stuck in your body.
they are the true.
Oh, yeah.
You know, a Jungian analyst is to be the midwife to the birth of the soul in their people they're working with. So they're almost like these shamans who are trying to help. But you know, Marion Woodman, I've been, you know, I got a couple of her talks.
Right.
She went over to Zurich because of eating disorders, body disorders.
Right.
And you know, she was anorexic, and she ended up becoming an analyst. But everything she does, like Gary, you know, one thing she does is she does a meditation before every talk of just being aware of different parts of the body. Now let's be aware of the metatarsals in the feet, and now let's be aware of the wonderful structure at the front of the neck. You know, but what I've been doing every day is to talk with my heart, to talk with my digestive system, to talk with the sexual system, with my legs and feet, my arms and hands. And I try to put my awareness not in this knot right here, but into my heart, you know, and I can't get it any lower than that. You know, I try to put it even lower. I know you do that. I can actually, in that one meditation you did, Gary, I can move something, but it's not my awareness to, you know, your knees or whatever. But, you know, I really do think, you know, here's what Jung says is that that body and spirit are two like triangles that almost touch but don't touch. And what touches them is what he calls the subtle body. And the subtle body is metaphor, the metaphor of dreams.
Oh, I really like that.
Yeah, I mean, what unites spirit and body is soul, the metaphor of dreams, you know. And so the subtle body means the metaphorical aspect, you know, of the body. But anyway,
we have a subtle body when we die.
Yes,
it's not physical.
Yeah,
it's a subtle body that we exist in for some amount of time when we die.
Well, yeah, I mean, like the one that is visible. I mean, in Jung said one time that when he saw the departed in his near-death experience, he said that they all, hi, Tim. We're just talking a little. We're going to start with Gary's dream here, but if anybody's got any more. What is those beautiful arched windows? Is that, where are you? Where are you?
This is my studio.
Yeah, I love those arched windows. It's almost
It's a
like a
huge
church.
building.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, we were just talking about, you know, what Marion Woodman or Young says, that the body and spirit are like two triangles which almost touch but don't meet, and what joins them is metaphor, or the subtle body. Young called it the subtle body, but the subtle body is the metaphorical aspect that we find in dreams. So, and he also said this is, he says, when you're on the journey of soul making, that is the goal. That there's no goal before or after. The goal is the journey of soul making, which we really do through the magical. Do you guys, I mean, I'm just saying, this is my own experience. When I'm working on my own dreams, I really do call it the blessed hour. I don't think there's any moment in my life where I feel so, you know, in sync with nature or the Tao or whatever. You know, it's just amazing. But anyway, I'm just becoming more and more convinced. Well, I was saying that anima is demanding that I spend an hour a day with my dreams, you know, and including drawing and writing. But you know, we're going to find a lot of that in Gary's dream.
You want me to post it, Craig?
Yeah, why don't you post it? I would just put this picture up. I haven't finished it yet, but
The problem that the whole world has in most people is they don't believe in the two worlds.
no,
You know,
they
you know,
don't.
we just assume there's two worlds. Now, that's a tremendous thing right there. We have access to a whole nother universe that most people in the world don't even think about or even believe it's real.
Well, and this is going to be, I think, amplified in Gary's dream here. And this was the dream I had
Oh, yeah.
where the anima had died, and the
Wow.
conventional healers could not help her. And I got to color it, but those medical healers who wear animal costumes and who live in the garden near the waterfall come, and she immediately revives.
Oh, that's just beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the soul revives, not through. Well, let's go through Gary's dream, because I had so much fun with this dream. I mean, let's just see. Why don't you just read it, Gary, and then we'll.
Yeah, let me get the rest of it in there. Okay. Wow, long dream. I am a young teenage girl in this dream. I'm being taken on a tour of a large corporation, but I have duplicitous motives. The building I am in holds a safe with many protection mechanisms. I am to steal either a bond or a deed that is in this safe. We go to the room with the safe, and I am shown the inner workings, which are quite impressive. During part of the tour, I meet a high up Japanese woman that I feel we either know each other or she knows about me. She feels dangerous to me, and I'm somewhat afraid of her. Later, I went back with a man to the room with the safe. There is a black man in the room, but he leaves as soon as we come in. An emergency occurs, and the man I was with is called away. I realize this is my chance, and I go to work with the training I've received. I begin inspecting the mechanisms. Unfortunately, the entire container, which holds the deeds and bonds, has been taken. I stop as my goal is no longer possible. I decide to stay in the room so that when the theft is discovered, I will not be suspected. I take a large sheet of beautiful red handmade paper that is somewhat translucent. Later, I fold this into an origami rose. The next day in the evening, I meet with the same high up Japanese woman I was afraid of at a very high end restaurant. It seems we are very close, and I wonder at my previous unconsciousness. She is very happy and glad to see me. We sit cross-legged at a low table. To the origami rose I made, I have added clusters of small white roses to form a large and airy arrangement. I had this brought to the table. She is impressed with the simple beauty, that it is so Japanese, where I am not. I am confused. I did not expect her to be happy. I thought that the black man had taken the bond before I got there. Now I wonder if she has it, and if I was just a small part of her plan, a misdirection at best, a pawn.
Okay. All right. Now, this sounds, to me, it is a lot clearer than it sounds. Okay. Now, first of all, we're a young teenage girl. So the dream here has adopted a new viewpoint or attitude. It's merged with the youthful feminine, and it's youthful, excuse me, it's the growing aspect of rebirth. The feminine is the non-rational nature being, being, not doing. It's immanent, not transcendent. It's indirect. It's receptive. It's soulful, not spiritual. It's relatedness, not differentiation or abstraction. It's the bearer of life and not the creative dynamic. But the dream ego has merged with this. Now, this is going to come up later, I think, in the origami, the creation of origami rose. So we are touring a large corporation. So it is a non-human entity, okay? A structure that has abstract form. Its purpose is to, Milton Friedman used to say that the purpose of corporations is not is not social idealism. It's to earn money for the shareholders, otherwise they get a new board of directors or something. But there's something to that, but there's something to the fact that you want to do it responsibly too, but anyway, it is a patriarchal association. Now, patriarchal does not mean masculine. Feminine and masculine don't mean gender either. They are energies. And in the caduceus of Asclepius, the snakes that go up, that's feminine and masculine energy. It's healing, but it's the yin and the yang that forms the perfect balance in the two fishes, and it's an energy, So anyway, the matriarchal and patriarchal are forms that have really, neither one of them are totally in sync with the Tao, because you need both yin and yang, But anyway, that you're in this corporation, this non-human entity, and you're taking a tour, but your aims are duplicitous. Some unknown authority, which is probably the self, wants us to go and acquire lost psychic energy, which is trapped in this rational monster. Okay? It's trapped there, and we need to release it. Okay, and this is the idea of this unknown entity wants us to go take our psychic energy, our own psychic energy that's trapped in some rational, non-human entity, which is probably our conscious attitude.
Right.
Just saying. Just saying. Now the psychic energy we need is locked away from us in this patriarchal realm, in a secret, inaccessible place, with intricate watch-like mechanisms. So this incredible incredibly advanced logos differentiation of the masculine spiritual realm. Now, our soul and our psychic energy is not really spiritual. It is, it doesn't, like the Dalai Lama say, exist at the top of the mountains. It exists down in the Vale of Tears, So when it's in this logos world, it's at the top of the mountain, really. So now we go into this place where the psychic energy is withheld from us, and it seems as possible to release. There's all these protections against us not this energy not being available to us. It's not going to be overcome easily. Then we meet the refined Japanese woman. She is either royal or geisha, and she is the highest form of the anima. She's the transformational anima, and seems very allied with Sophia or something. Now, the dream ego feels this figure is not completely unknown to it. And it may have encountered her in the past, or maybe she knows us and we don't know her. But there's this aspect that she's not completely unknown. And so there's something of this unknown anima, one who ego has not given a lot of attention to, but she possibly has given a lot of attention to us. So ego's attention and knowledge of her remains far from her. Now it says here that we're not sure, and later it says we really did know her, and we wonder what's going on with her consciousness. Well, this is really aletheia, truth is aletheia, which is the absence of forgetting. So as we get to know the soul, we are, when you're born, all the wisdom of nature is taken away from you. And the reason it's taken away from you is so the outer entity, the ego, can develop undisturbed and then become the vessel in time and space for what it forgot when it was born. When it forgot when it stopped being a nature being and formed the ego, So anyway, now she is dangerous to what? To the conscious attitude. She is the dissolving agent of this conscious attitude, which is missing psychic energy, which is missing soul. So her dangerousness has to do with that she's a dissolving agent of this ego attitude, that it lacks soul, lacks psychic energy. So now later we go back to get this psychic energy that we need, and that is withheld from life. It's really withheld from our life. So our life is empty. And usually when our soul life is an empty hole, we try to fill it with objects, new cars, beautiful girlfriends, beautiful televisions, objects, whatever, even maybe with concepts, some kind of empty, dry philosophy or something, and it can't fill that hole. It still remains empty. And because the only thing you can fill it with is soul. We're an empty vessel, but the only way we can fill ourselves, to fill our life is with this withheld psychic energy, which is missing from us, is withheld from our existence. The absolutely necessary ingredients to our thinness, our one-sidedness, our brokenness, our inability to give birth to the Redeemer within us. Now we enter with a helpful companion, and with and then a dark figure is just leaving. Now I just want to mention one thing that is, I find this to be true. This is off topic a little bit. But James Hillman, said that if we ever identify each other with a color, it's poisonous, you know. So you're not a yellow man or a white man or a red man or a black man. You identify with the place of origin. So you're either a European or you're an African or you're a Native American or you're Asian, you know. But when you put a color on it, I mean, don't you feel that kind of poisonous thing that
Well, the thing that I remember reading, and it might have actually been out of Hellman too, was that, you know, dark figures are, it doesn't actually have anything to do with race. It's, it's more, like part of our, attitude towards what's happening.
the Black Madonna, Kali,
Yeah,
you
right,
know, I
right.
mean, what the Black Madonna and Kali have that the White Madonna doesn't have is they are related to the Black Earth, and they're related to that non-spiritual aspect of the
Well,
feminine.
Kali's blackness is actually, or at least under one myth, is that she's absorbed all the negativity of the universe. So it's actually like this, she's saving us from it.
Yeah, she could. Yeah, I mean, she's the black hole or whatever. She's absorbed it all. But anyway, it's not in a dark figure tends to represent the compulsive attitude of our shadow, and it's identified with a dark figure. He can be someone in a trench coat with sunglasses who looks real shady. You know, so anyway, I mean, I just want to. It's not necessarily,
Yeah, I
and
probably
of
should
course,
have
it's
put it somewhat different. I was just typing it out when I got up and then, yeah.
just
But
a
no, I
dark
see what
figure.
you dark figure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just being politically correct, but
No, that's good.
I don't like to do. I don't really like to do that very much. But anyway, we enter with this helpful companion, and a dark figure is just leaving. An emergency occurs, the companion disappears, and we're left there alone. So, this is ego's chance with the training coming from the unknown authority, okay, to reclaim the psychic energy that's locked away from us. That's what we got the training from him. And but it's gone. It's disappeared completely, and now even the opportunity to steal it, to reclaim it, is gone. And this says the ego. Well, let's just see what happens, because it comes up. But anyway, the ego can't obtain it by itself. I think that's kind of what it's saying. That this transforming energy um, can't be acquired by the ego by itself.
Oh yeah, right,
You know?
right.
So
Makes
that
sense.
it just is not available for the ego just to go find. It needs, like in the fairy tale, animal helpers or magic or some type of thing. So now we feel guilty that we may be accused by the collective that has imprisoned our own soul from stealing it. So we stay there. But now we stay there for not for particularly that reason. And what we do now is let's see, the what we really do is, so while in this room we find this psychic energy not outside ourselves but inside ourselves. So we find red feeling functioned paper, not made by a machine. It's 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 eminently human. It was handmade, and it's also translucent. Okay, and what does translucent mean? It means shining through. It means the shining through. And what does deity mean? It comes from the word diev or diu, and that means the shining one. what does the Sanskrit deva mean too? I mean, a deva is this deity too. So the deity means the shining one. The paper is translucent. It means God shines through this paper, and the paper is red. You know, and anyway, it's the redness represents the feeling function. So it's just a profound paper. And so now we couldn't find the energy outside. This ego was incapable of recovering its soul that was locked away from it in the and apparently stolen by this shadow, you know, possibly. And but yet without words, with some innate inborn inner ability, we fold this God paper. It's really what it is. Um, into the rose, which is the lotus of Europe. It's the symbol of wholeness, you know. And anyway, this redeeming thing could not be found outside us. Ego couldn't retrieve it, even if it knew where it was and had training to do it. It can't do it by itself. So the next day, we meet this geisha Japanese, exquisite, refined uh, being. Now, you know, the one thing about Japan is this, is what is the native religion of Japan? It is Shinto. And Shinto is one of the most beautiful religions that worship the landscape, the flowers, everything they see, and they, you know, all these beautiful Zen gardens and these things. It's every Zen Buddhist is also Shinto, and I don't know if every Shinto is Zen Buddhist, but Buddhism comes to China through India, okay, and then the Chinese were intrigued by it, but they couldn't. And Bodhidharma brought it, by the way, and uh, he's this Indian guru, and he sits in front of a wall for 7 years, and this person who a disciple comes up and sits by him, and Bodhidharma just ignores every inquiry he makes. So finally, he cuts off his arm and hands it to Bodhidharma, which distracts him enough to say, "What do you want?" And he says, "I can't find my soul." I mean, and he says, or something like that, and or he is that isn't what he said. He said something about his soul is sick or something. And he says, "Well, present your soul, and I will heal it for you." And he says, "I can't." You know. So anyway, so they had to translate Buddhism into Taoism. You know, with using the words of Taoism. So the Buddhism of China is not the Buddhism of India. You know, it's really a Taoist Buddhism. And then it goes to Japan, you know, from in this Taoist Buddhist form of Buddhism goes to Japan, and then it unites with Shinto, and they come up with this Zen Buddhism. And you know what's really funny about Zen Buddhas? When they're shown meditating, their eyes are always open, the Buddha. And if you look at it in Ceylon or everywhere else, if you don't look for a Buddha in India, because all you'll see is a pillow with a depression in it. They didn't think you could picture the Buddha, you know, because he's the one, you know, he's just not a real being. But anyway, Japanese, you know, the geisha, what does she mean? You know, so we meet her again, and we meet her in a very extraordinarily fine restaurant. And that means that it is a very advanced place of the Forks of Tyler Hall, you know, It's a very advanced place of assimilation. Okay. And now it's no fooling this time. We are very close with her. We know she's very close, and we can't get over this. That somehow, how could we have forgotten this one? So were we unconscious or something? Well, this is the aletheia, that suddenly we're rediscovering that thing we forgot when we were born or became ego conscious. Now she's joyous at our presence, and she sits in ritual fashion at a low table close to the earth to assimilate soul, basically. And to the red feeling rose of wholeness, we now have its opposite, the white rose of spirit. Should we put that picture up so we can get that up? There it is. Okay. Okay. So this is a wonderful Japanese arrangement, by the way, and a beautiful representation of a rose too. You can see the two sitting at the low table there, and so now it's an ethereal arrangement, and remember it's made out of this paper that God shines through. Okay, now the anima is very impressed by its simplicity, its naturalness, which is very Zen, but we didn't anticipate her being so pleased and so happy and so joyous to see us. So we're suspicious, and we think that the dark man, the shadow man, and her are in cahoots. Well, maybe they are, but maybe they wanted you to know that it needs to come up from inside you. You will not find your soul outside, even in the locked in this intricate logos safe. You'll never find it. It has to come from within, and with the aid of this beautiful substance where God shines through. And where did you learn to do origami, by the way? Anyway, that's that's why I just thought I had a lot of fun with it.
That was like quite the interpretation, Craig.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just fun to do these things, especially if you can sit there and, meditate on them. What do you think, Roy? Oh, do you want me to leave that up?
Well, a question I have is, I am a young teenager girl in this dream. The whole dream, is there any part that you weren't a teenage girl?
No, whole dream I was.
Okay, so you went to the restaurant and you were a young girl.
But yeah, the same person that I was in the corporation.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Okay, well, the way I'm looking at it, this is like a chapter out of a spy novel. Duplicious, I can't even pronounce it, but that's kind of deceitful. And nobody's being truthful. Well, that's not aletheia. That's the opposite of aletheia. We're not unconcealing anything, and so it's just full of that. But all of a sudden it switches, like a deed or a bond. You can't steal a deed or a bond. It's a piece of paper. It's recorded in a court. You put all of it you want in a safe, it doesn't mean anything. It's recorded in a court. You can't steal it. You can steal gold, jewelry, cash. You can't steal a deed or a bond. So this whole thing is not based on anything, all this intrigue. And then it really switches with this origami thing. Now that's something that's wholeness. That's something that reveals truth. You're revealing beauty, openness, the vulnerability of the rose. It's so delicate. And that kind of shifts things, but it doesn't clear the plate of the deceit and the suspect. It doesn't clear the plate, but it's a step forward. It's mysterious how that gets in the dream and starts to turn it around. but it hasn't taken root yet.
That's a very good point about the deed and the bond. That even if we were to acquire the outer forms of psychic energy, they're not a part of us. They belong to
They
some
have no
other.
value. They
Yeah.
have no value.
Yeah, because they're not didn't come from within, they can't help us. So that's a very good point, Roy. The fact that especially a deed or a bond, a deed is you know, there has to be something on the abstract saying that it transferred to us, and the bond is you know, if it's a negotiable bond, there still has to be some type of a chain of custody of its transference. But yes, that's a very good point, Tim. But I mean, Roy, but that means that I think that this outer psychic energy, which we're trying to steal, is not the way to acquire it. It has to come from within. It came with the help of the translucent paper and this magical ability to create an organ. And why did we do that there? You know, I mean, it seems like we can't get, our soul is missing. We need soul. So something within us creates this, and it probably is related to the fact that we are now occupying. Um, you know, when Molly became the man, you know, now we become, we have acquired some of the aspects of the anima. At least we're working through her, um, her viewpoint. And if we were not the youthful feminine, I don't think you could have done the origami rose, the white rose. I don't think it would have. You would have had this innate ability that the youthful feminine has, you know, to create the feeling, the lotus of feeling. And then you, since you're also male, she can create the lotus of spirit for you too. So, I mean, you're almost like Hermes Aphrodite. I mean, there's an aspect of that. There's the male and the female are combined in you. And it really didn't mean anything until I think the roses were formed. You know, after we're disappointed and feeling guilty, because as Roy mentions, we were being deceitful, we were being duplicitous, and the duplicity and the deceit isn't only due to the fact that we're trying to steal it, it's that you can't acquire psychic energy this way, you know. And that, by the way, the psychic energy doesn't belong to you. You're missing psychic energy. You're missing soul. And so you say, well, I will steal it from someone else. You can't do it. You know, you need to assimilate the feminine within you, which basically this is done already when you were transferred into this youthful feminine. What do you think, Tim?
Boy, I really like um, Roy's point about the value of the deed. You can't really steal it. It makes me think about just the whole system that Western civilization has set up when it comes to value. I'm thinking about the symbol of this enormous, highly complex safe deep in a building that is all apparently constructed to protect this thing that really has no value. And it makes me think about the way modern people construct our lives, where we've pretty much solved the problems of surviving in the world and giving ourselves a pretty good body life. And yet we're never satisfied. We always have to keep piling on more and more. And I'm so startled that that billionaires never have enough. It's a kind of sickness that you just keep having to accumulate more. And this is in contrast to this very, very simple idea of taking this beautiful translucent paper and folding it into this magical form. Do you remember what the form was that the origami took? Was it a bird or something?
Well, it's a rose. I
Red
form it into that
rose.
Or a
red
rose. That's
Yeah.
right. Okay. So it's this beautiful symbol of love and devotion that is formulated by the young feminine. And so there's this kind of magical power that in one way blows out of the water all of the machinations of the civilization. I think of this Native American legend of the young man who's trying to romance the chief's daughter, and all of the great warriors come with these big gifts and horses and teepees and things like this, and he has nothing to give to woo her, but he goes out and he gets a handful of blueberries and brings them to her, and she is absolutely smitten by him.
Mm.
It's the secret. It's this really, really simple thing that everybody else ignores, and I think of just how powerful that symbol is of value.
It's wonderful, Tim. It's just beautiful. Now, the billionaires who want to keep acquiring more and more still feel empty because they are an empty hole because it's missing soul, it's missing psychic energy. And you could throw all the money, all the objects in that hole you want, but you're going to still feel empty. And so you are thinking that those are going to fill the hole. They won't. And again, I think that what you mentioned about the image of the corporation, something that we would normally say is very valuable, and in its most inner sanctum, in its safe, is going to be the valuable thing, value of all values, And if we get that, then that empty feeling in us will be full. No, it isn't. Our gold is not the common gold. As the alchemists say, So the actual gold is not the thing of value to the the one who has achieved the third conjunctio. It's not going to be, or the second. Jung said no one had ever achieved the third. He didn't think that Paracelsus or Zosimos or Burma had any one of them had really achieved it. At least they knew about it. But yeah, that's very good, Tim, because that I think is more what the corporation is. The thing that we think is of value, our gold is not the common gold, so it's not there. How about you, Charles? You kind of snuck in. I'm sorry, I didn't say hi.
No, that's okay. I don't know. I came in a little bit late. The dream's really complex. I don't really have a whole lot to say. Yeah, I mean, everyone's input has been good so far. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's, it represents some, incredible, unfathomable storehouse of psychic energy that has yet to be tapped into, that the anima and shadow are like conspiring to like make theirs, but the self is keeping it there for safekeeping. because the ego has to relinquish it back to the self. The anima and shadow are kind of like fighting over it covertly. It's so covert. Like everything is so indirect and sneaky. I love it.
It is, and you know, so we think we're being deceitful and duplicitous by getting this stuff, but you know, as Tim mentioned, that it's not going to fill our emptiness. Do you think it would? What do you think, Gary?
Oh, I love all this input, I've gotten from everyone. I mean, yours was just brilliant. And then what Tim had to say about, the corporation, it made me think, the corporation, it's almost like this, it's patriarchal, but it seems like, oh my gosh, it's the ego. And it's,
Mhm.
it's creating like all of these just totally strange machinations
Mhm.
around this really simple act. And it's only when the whole thing of like is kind of stepped back from that, the simple act of taking the red translucent paper and forming the origami rose, that, something real and meaningful even starts to come into being. And then, when this meeting occurs, with the geisha, with the anima, and I present this, it show, I guess it's like, okay, this is, recognizing beauty or meaning and stuff. And yet at the same time, it's like I'm expecting her to be unhappy with me because I didn't succeed in the task. But, I think for her, the task was always something completely different. And maybe the task was really just, this presentation of something simple.
Yeah,
And
go
and
ahead.
so, I just, even there, I kind of got it wrong. Again, there was a bit of unconsciousness.
Well, you know, one of the most surprising thing in the dream is that we're a teenage girl. Okay. Yet you don't do any teenage girl things in the whole dream. I mean, you're you, but you seem to be have the ability to tap into the youthful feminine.
Mm.
But everything you're doing is Gary, you know, until you make the origami rose. Now let's go through that whole let's say it's on a a rising roller coaster type thing. You know, we go into the corporation and we discover that the psychic energy is there, and then everyone leaves, and now we have a chance to get it, but it's gone. And then we go down, and then while we're there, thinking that not only is it gone, but we're going to get arrested because it's gone, because we're the only one there. Suddenly, now I think the meaning of the teenage girl identification comes into effect. She does something that you don't, Gary knows nothing about. She can take the translucent paper, which God shines through, and make the lotus, you know, this symbol of wholeness, you know. And then after we do that, then suddenly it shifts to being in the place of assimilation with the anima, who is, I don't think, I think that perhaps she is, maybe she and the dark man conspired to remove this bond or deed, which even if you acquired would be worthless, as Roy said, in order to facilitate the birth of the rose. You know, if you had found the psychic energy, you would not have facilitated, that would not have facilitated the birth of the rose. So the anima knew that that's what needed to happen, you know. And so then the next time you see her, at the place of assimilation. And then you find it's no fool, and she and I are very, very close. Now, what does that mean? You know, I mean that we're very close, you know, and yet how could I have missed that? You know, because we're suddenly becoming conscious of the inner world is how we missed it, you know, and she was born with us, you know, and she's been the geisha throughout when we were a little kid, all the way up to we teenager and grew up, you know, and she's there, and she's very pleased with the fact that we have produced the symbol of wholeness. Okay. But now the ego creeps back in and says, wait a second. See, now, so I think Gary, you didn't create the powers. I think the teenage aspect of you did, but your darn old conscious attitude is still there
Right.
in the corporate mold of
Yeah,
stealing
I think so.
stuff, you know. So, well, any other comments on the dream, Roy or Tim or Charles?
Well, one thing, I got this hunch that Gary has this teenage girl. It's like an autonomous complex. You can call it the anima that he's repressing. He's getting something from it, but he doesn't want to let it grow up to have its own independence. He's keeping this thing in a locked room. You know, it's just some weird premonition that I have. I don't know if it's anything to it or not.
It's very mysterious, but do you get the sense? I'm just going to close with this, unless you have anybody else has to say. That this is just a very profound dream. It is absolutely something that is so far from ego consciousness. It's crazy, you know, and it does have a moral. I think the moral is that the only way that you can produce the rose is to unite with your soul, with the youthful aspect of you, and then the older anima will be there to guide you too. But she will help you as you unite with this thing. But the wholeness cannot come from outside of you. It comes from within. See, it's almost like this alchemical divine child, or the philosopher's stone, has come into being through the uniting of the youthful, transformative feminine and ego consciousness. Now, ego does not seem to be too aware of it, but it doesn't seem to be too aware of anything. How this happened, you know, where did the anima come from? And yet, even though it's somewhat still doesn't seem in a very enlightened, not a very enlightened state, this philosopher's stone appears, you know, and so it is. It's just sort of a premonition. It doesn't seem like the ego is any farther along than it was before, other than it has seen that if it unites with the feminine, it can produce the philosopher's stone, and the goddess or the older anima will be very pleased, and that you can't get it in the outer world. The corporate, these things of value that we think are valuable, but belong to somebody else. Now, let me just say that one thing that von Franz said, that unless you work with your own images and your own visions, you can't get enlightenment from somewhere else. Now, the one thing is that the Eastern religions can give us is the ability to quiet the ego. But at that point, what we need to do is to connect with our inner images, you know, at that point, because that otherwise that what comes from that other place, is it really belong to us? Did it really come out of us? Was it the rose that came out of us? I don't know. You know, now I do deep meditations, you know, on body and everything else. And I think yours are too, Gary, but they need to serve the visions and the images and not serve the outer forms of the religion or the meditation that it emerged from. It needs to be in service to our own images and our own visions, you know. But so in other words, it's a great tool, but not in and of itself. It needs to be married with the youthful feminine, you know, that kind of stuff. Well,
I got
anyway,
one more comment here.
yes, Jim, please.
I'm thinking about the difference between the Japanese woman who starts out being sort of dangerous and you're afraid of her. And then at the end, there's this really surprising development that I didn't realize until I was just thinking about it, that is really unexpected, that she is so she's so happy to you know, to see you. And what did you say? I didn't expect her to be happy. And it just reminds me that the ego's attitude toward the corporation and this high Japanese woman, you just automatically kind of close up and you think, okay, this is a person of power. They only are impressed with power. I don't have power, so I'm a little bit afraid. But then in reality, all she's really interested in is the relationship. And that's what the feminine is about relating and being real. So it's like you already have that capacity. It's just a matter of switching over into a different mindset and saying, instead of, you know, blowing somebody away with my performance, I'm gonna just be, and that's plenty. I'm already the origami rose, the symbol of love.
Yeah, I think that the reason we're afraid of her, I was thinking, is that she's a threat. She's a dissolving agent to the supremacy of the conscious attitude. You know, I mean, there's no she's not a threat to anything except the conscious attitude that thinks that it can acquire this thing here. She's this magical being that seems to be above it all. And I think if she did take the bond and deed away from us, it was to facilitate the rose occurrence. She's all wise and all knowing, and she knew that if that thing was gone, that then with the help of the youthful feminine, this rose of transformation and wholeness would be created. You know, but yeah, I mean, great comments by everybody. Now, Tim, do you have a dream? Charles, you had a short one. Do you want to? We can go over that too.
Yeah, I did actually have a dream last night that was absolutely amazing, and I would like to at least introduce it at some point. We don't have to go over it, but oh my goodness, it was awesome.
All right. Well, maybe why don't we spend about 15, 20 minutes on each? Do you have one, Tim? You know, well, why don't you start on your dream? If you got one, Tim, why don't we spend about 15 minutes on each? Okay. Do you want to, who wants to go first? Go ahead, Charles.
Mine first, I guess.
Yeah, all right.
Okay. All right, 1 second. Let me just pull it up here. Okay, so I was getting a tour of a house that was either very small or I was very large, because it was certainly very cramped. I was taking up almost the entire hallway, and, you know, almost the entire room as I navigated through it. But I was basically going throughout the house by floating along, but sort of like a seal. Like I was like straight on my belly, and I was flapping my hands and feet as if they were flippers, sort of swimming through the air like a seal. I get to one room that is filled with water, and there's a big sand dune in the middle of it, and there are manta rays that are swimming around very playfully, and I'm cuddling with one of them. Then later I get to a bedroom, which is upwards. I have to go up the stairs to go to it, and I'm trying to fly. My sister is there with me, and it's sort of like Peter Pan. I have to be positive and think happy thoughts. I'm trying to go in a circle, trying to fly around the room in a circle, and I finally start to get the hang of it, and I start flying around the room in a big spiraling circle. I'm thinking my happy thoughts, and I'm being positive, and I just become totally overjoyed. I'm so happy. I'm so filled with feeling, and I'm crying and just telling my sister that I love her over and over again.
Wow, that is really quite some images here. Okay, now let's just go over it real quick. We're getting a tour of a house, and it is either too small for us, or I would say it's too small for us. The house is too small. Because, you know, later we see other creatures there and we're proportional with them. But the house is too cramped. In other words, the attitude that we have is not big enough is too small. We are not going to be able to develop here. Okay, so there's this aspect of that this place that we're residing is too small. Then we are starting to be seal-like as we go through there. Our dog's got missing his back 2 knees, and he's very seal-like. He pulls his butt wherever he goes, you know, and he looks like a seal. But anyway, the seal, you know, sort of goes like this as it goes forward, but we're going through the house like that. And is that because you can't stand up, or you're crawling through it, or
Well,
just...
technically, I would not even have close to enough room to actually stand up. I mean, I'm like, the hallway is so small that, like, I'm surprised I'm not claustrophobic. But I'm just floating along, but kind of swimming through the air.
It's almost like a birth canal. Now, you know what's too small for is a birth canal. You know, I mean, in Lascaux and Les Trois Frères, they have a big a place you go through, and you would go all the way through it and then come out in this big room, and that was that you've been reborn. You went back through the uterine canal and came out. Okay. Now you do come out into a big room. Now, how big is this room? It's got sand and water and manta rays.
It's not that large. Everything's a little bit disproportionate and Dr. Seuss-like in the dream. It's maybe like, I mean, I don't know. It's the size of a large coffee table. The room, everything's just strangely proportioned. It's hard to tell how big and small things are.
But how big are the manta rays?
They're small manta rays, because manta rays are huge. They're like,
I know.
this means manta rays are the size of a large stingray, I guess.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
none of it, just the sizes don't make sense in the dream at all.
We saw them down in Hawaii, and this is like about 30 years ago. And I was asking my dad recently, he's 92. They turned the lights out at night, and these manta rays would come up and gather the krill that is on top of the water, you know, and their whole body would come out, you know. And, you know, they're like 8, 9, 10 feet wide. I don't, maybe more than that. And I was asking my dad this maybe 30, 40 years ago. He said, do you remember that night in Hawaii where we watched the manta rays? He says, I can see it right now. He says, it was just such a wonderful thing. But anyway, we're there with the manta rays and also the sister. So there's an aspect of the feminine shows up. Okay, now this is proportional with you, isn't she?
Yeah, the only thing that's proportional is the bedroom upstairs that I go to.
So, but you don't go upstairs, you fly there, correct?
I mean, I float up the stairs like I'd been floating everywhere.
Yes.
Just like kind of 4 inches off the ground, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Now that's not necessarily, it is a sense of ecstasy and elation, you know, but it also is showing we're somewhat disconnected from the earth, you know. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, you know, but now you go around and around the room. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I'm just saying that in my case, the healing aspect was to stop flying. And Roy, what's this about you flying all the time? You know, you fly a lot in your dreams.
Yeah, I fly a lot, but I think for different reasons.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll just finish up here and then why don't you start? But anyway, there is this undeniable feeling of happiness. And well, the only way that you got to fly in the first place was to think happy thoughts or to think positive thoughts or to think healing thoughts, you know, and through that, that's what, through the healing thoughts, we lift ourselves out of the depression that we may have been in, you know, in this uterine canal thing. So there is a sense of liberation when you go through this small hallways, come out into the place of the manta rays, these beings of the unconscious, these strange beings of the unconscious, you go up to a new level, attitude of awareness. You start to fly around the room. The feminine is there, and through these healing thoughts, suddenly you feel healed, and then you say to the anima, and I don't know what she had to do with this, but I love you, I love you, I love you. You know? Now, did we miss anything, Charles? Is there a important point that we forgot? Because I didn't write it
No,
down.
I mean, that was it.
I'll have it typed out next time. Roy, what do you think? We just want to go till about 8:13, and then we'll let him finish.
Yeah, well, the rebirth theme is very apt for this one, and maybe it was just blowing off some stress for Charles, you know, like a compensation. Uh, so yeah, it seems like more like a compensation dream to give him some relief from all the stress that he's under. I mean, that's kind of what I'm getting.
He seems to be doing pretty well. He's actually might have a date, and he had the dream last night. Is that possible
Well,
dates?
that probably figures in.
Yes, I mean it was he. When did you find out that this girl wanted to go out with you, Charles?
Yesterday.
Yesterday, and then you had the dream last night.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. What do you think, Gary? And by the way, she's very pretty.
Yeah, the cat. So, oh, the girl. The girl. I thought you were referring to the cat that's climbing along.
No, his girlfriend is very pretty, but your cat's very pretty too.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, you know, it sounds like, you know, it begins in the unconscious, and the persona is not big enough for the unconscious, you know, the house.
Mhm.
So, you know, there's this feeling of claustrophobia and you know, and you can't walk upright. He can't get out of the unconscious because the persona is not there that permits it. And then, you know, when he realizes that it is possible, you know, he just has to think the right thoughts. And then he has the breakthrough. And in the breakthrough, you know, it's like bliss. It's ecstatic. And there's that, you know, there's the really nice relating function, which takes him right back to the family, where, you know, he realizes how deeply he feels about, you know, one member of the family, his sister, you know, and I don't know if that's his normal feeling or not, but you know, in the dream, it's certainly a realization. So, you know, all in all, you know, really positive dream, I think.
You know, one interesting thing we learned from Gerhard Adler is people who have claustrophobia were under the maternal infantile control of the mother too long. And people who have agoraphobia, the fear of open places, they left her too early. You know, isn't that interesting? So this claustrophobia aspect is sort of a fear of the devouring mother when we feel claustrophobia. But when we have agoraphobia, this fear of great open places, it's that we were somewhat abandoned by the mother way too early. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. What do you think, Tim?
Boy, I'm thinking a lot about Alice in Wonderland, going down into the hole and ending up too big for that world. But it is full of all these animal helpers. And so I'm just thinking of the parallels here. All of that instinctive energy and this beautiful bond with the anima. There's something in there. I haven't quite digested it, but it feels to me like you're being called into this relationship with your soul that is going to produce some kind of wisdom, like in a fairy tale when the animals come along and guide you through this encounter, I guess.
Okay, well, let's just review it one more time. And then, Charles, maybe you can tell us, too, about just, I think one thing we miss a lot with Charles' dream, probably other people's dream, is the intense emotional or the emotional aspect that they felt. And that is so important. Plus, the fact, I don't know if this is related to the fact that this beautiful girl contacted you out of the blue and wants to meet with you. But anyway, you're going on a tour of this house that's too small. You're crawling through the hallways almost like a seal. You can't stand up. You can't use your feet. You're just crawling through it like you would through some type of a tube or a uterine canal of some type. Then you come out into a room with the unconscious and with the beings of the unconscious there, and that you make friends with them. And then you go up to an upper, so you almost were born. Then you go into the unconscious. You make friends with the animal helpers. And then after those two threshold crossings, really, you ascend to the room of where the anima is, and you through and it's through your own efforts. So this is not really completely anima type aspect. You find you suddenly are have become very through your own thoughts, you have lifted yourself from the uterine canal, from this second threshold crossing. You have lifted yourself through greater awareness or something, and you're able to go in spirals. So that's a symbol too of you just keep forming these mandalas, you know, and then you say to the feminine, I love you, I love you. I mean, you're relating. What is keeping you going in the spirals is I'm related to you. I'm related to you. You and I are one. You and I are one, you know, and then anyway, Roy, did you say everything you wanted to say about flying and everything?
Well, I fly a lot in my dream. Manta rays fly, and
Mhm. With the
he's
wings.
already swimming, which is flying in water, and so everything precipitating, liftoff in this dream, which is everybody I've ever talked to enjoys flying. It's
Oh,
it's really a good thing in a dream to experience that, and so that's a lot of relief for Charles, and I think that's an important point. Is positive thoughts help you lift you up. You want to remember that one.
yeah.
You know,
The one part, the most best thing about attaining altitude is that you can look down on yourself at a distance, so you can separate yourself from the some. I mean, at least you can look at yourself from a higher vantage point. Well, Charles, do you have any concluding thoughts about it? And then we'll hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was just so, like Roy said, it really kind of was a relief. I feel like, usually in my dreams when I have some type of intense emotional outburst, it's negative. Um, but to have a dream where, I don't know, it just kind of like I was able to have my spirits lifted enough to be able to just have outpour of love, which, you know, I'm not known to be like that.
No, that's
It was just a
true.
really big like um
Release of
I,
feeling is what it
yeah,
was. That
yeah, yeah.
rather than just crying and emotional, and a couple of the other, when the old crone moon is about to drown out the sun, where there's a feeling of hopelessness. This is a release of feeling. You suddenly, it's like a cathartic cry or something where you can release emotion freely. But in this case, it's love. So what were you going to say,
I,
Charles? I didn't just was.
oh, also like it makes me the dream felt like kind of home like that's my home. It's like the water house. It's like it was like an aquatic house. And also I think it might have something to do with like, I've had a lot more pressure and responsibility recently and like way more pressure than I've ever had in my life. And that is kind of what I have to do. It's just like think happy thoughts and like be positive. I have a lot of
Yes, and so that's a
the
sign that
the the
can.
other sous chef the other sous chef is like the really kind of uh just unstable guy that like trashed my old apartment, and he like went on a tirade like just raging that I got promoted up to his level. And it's just like, and it's not easy having the other sous chef like act like he likes you but then secretly he's like not happy at all with you.
Mhm. Yeah.
And yeah, it's I don't know, it's just yeah, and that's what I have to do. I have to stay positive and think happy thoughts, and it's like the only way I can feel like I have any sense of like inner home, because that's what I have to do is like I have to establish like an inner home while I'm away from my actual home.
But you're coping,
That's
right? You're coping.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, now are you using a little bit of that sort of a sedative thing that?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, okay, but you're still
I
coping.
don't use it at work, but
No, I know, but you're coping, and you are more pressure than you've ever had before in your life, and you're coping. And also now you have a girl that's interested in you, so it's all good. Don't you think? I mean, the
yeah, I
one thing
mean,
about what do they say that if you build a ship, it needs to go out and face the storms,
right, right.
and so that's what any good ship has to be able to withstand storms, because it's not always clear sailing, but that's not a very good ship that's only good in clear sailing. So I think you're you're becoming resilient, and if you're resilient, that's you know is an incredible gift. Well, Tim, do you want to introduce a dream?
Boy, I don't think it's my turn, is it?
Well, yeah. Gary just did one. Roy doesn't have one. Charles just did one. So if you have one, you can at least introduce it, and we can get ready, and I can, use my. I
All
love
right.
to be able to work on these before we start.
Um,
You want to
I may
email it
have,
to me? You email it to me.
yeah, I may not be able to
That's okay. If you can
fit it
just
into the. Let me try on the chat, see if I can get it
okay,
to
yeah,
work.
just maybe put it in two different parts. You did
Oh,
that
there you
one.
go. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
It's called Enlivening the Concert.
Okay. Oh, great. Love it.
I've been asked to guest conduct an orchestra concert. The symphony music is expanded with the possibility that some of the numbers could be enhanced with solos by individuals who do extra work to expand them using their own emotional journeys. The music is thus made dusky and deep through writing about their painful experiences, following the themes of the works. The owner also takes me through an antique university hall and shows me these beautiful wooden boxes with historic instruments that could be used by those players. I'm thrilled at the artistic possibilities.
Okay, great. Well, let's get started on it. Of course, we can't get too much done, but in about 10 minutes. Let's go over here. There we go. Control-V. Okay, enlivening the concert. Okay, so that's a good title. I've been asked to guest conduct an orchestra concert. Okay, the symphony music is expanded with the possibility that some of the numbers could be enhanced with solos by individuals who do extra work to expand them using their own emotional journeys. Okay, so to start out with, we are being asked to conduct some type of a musical piece. Okay, so the musical piece is really all music is that resonance of our bodies. Really, I mean, music comes out of the body. I mean, that's like where uh, oh, who's the Helen Keller, holds the radio in her arms and listens to Mozart, and she can feel it, and it just puts her into ecstasy, just feeling the vibrations. And there was this Japanese geneticist one time that assigned different notes to the genetic material. And when he played it of the transparent um, uh, coating over the eye, it sounded like Vivaldi's Four Seasons. But when he played it of a cancerous Oko gene, It sounded like Chopin's Death March, you know. So there's aspect that music is really is rhythms of the body that have come to life. So we've been asked to guest conduct something like that. Now, the symphony music is expanded with the possibility that members, I think is what I should say, could, or numbers or pieces could be
Yeah.
enhanced with solos by individuals who do extra work to expand them using their own emotional journeys. So anyway, there's the music that you're going to be playing or conducting is going to be connected with with the deep experiences. T.S. Eliot says that our life is like a necklace, and that after we die, and that certain beads on there show the soul moments. And what they're going to do is bring the soul moments into the pieces to see here is the Kairos events of my life, and I want to add them to this musical piece, which really represents the rhythms of being alive. The music is made dusky and deep through writing about their painful experiences. So then some of the music is combined. I mean, isn't it amazing how people who write music for very important films, you know, the music of those films is very they get Oscars for it because even though it's all instrumental, because it adds so much to the experience of the film, you know. And so dusky and deep, so it's dark and deep through writing about their painful experiences and follow the themes of the works. Now, the owner takes me through this antique university hall and shows me the beautiful, oh boy, this is so beautiful, Tim. The owner takes me through this antique university hall and shows me the beautiful wood boxes with historical instruments that could be used by those players. And you're thrilled at the artistic possibilities. I mean, this reminds me of the dream with all the sayings outside on the bricks of the house. It's just this
Right.
exquisite images. You know, what do you think, Roy?
Yeah, well, it just seems like this has a lot of gets the artistic juices going for Tim, which is really good because that's what an artist wants. You know, he wants something that's going to inspire him, give him ideas, and get him to participate in something artistic, which that's what he loves. And the dream seems to be totally cooperating with that. So yeah, that's what I get.
Yeah, it's interesting too about, I just was telling Tim last time about what Woodman says about artistic value, you know, is that it loses its feminine quality when it goes to market, you know. But on the other hand, how would we have the Louvre, and all these wonderful art museums if we didn't have someone who valued these artists and had the ability to be discerning about it? But anyway, the music is connected not only with the rhythms of the body, but it's connected with the kairos moments of the highs and lows of lived experience. Okay, now that's the first part. Then the then the owner of the universe, or some owner of what? You know what, owner?
Just some kind of an authority from the
Some kind of
symphony.
authority. Say, yeah. Okay. So it might be the dean or something. Takes me through an antique, a place of the ancestors, with beautiful wood boxes with Stradivarius violins, or or harpsichords from the 18th century or something like that. Just very
Right.
historic instruments that could be used. That were made out of special woods, have wonderful resonances. And so we know. Now this is just my idea about music. If it's written by an artist and it's performed by the highest capable people that do it, I don't care if you like classical music or not, you're going to be moved by it. What do you think, Gary?
Yeah, I think, wow. So music, I mean, a way of expressing something that you can't express, you know, with a voice. And yet, and so, it's like it's a deeper connection to the soul. It's kind of like poetry. We can't express, in poetry, we can express things we can't express any other way. But not only that, but then it's like each, individual musician is going to be able to expand and, with things that are deeply meaningful to them for their own emotional journeys. And I'm like, it just shows like this formation of additional depth and stuff in the soul. I mean, it's really remarkable. And then the ancient hall with the old musical instruments, that's to me, this is like, a way of connecting to the ancestors and what was there. So I mean, I think we're kind of early on in this, but wow, I mean, it's got a lot of really interesting pieces to it.
Yeah, the antique, it'd be related to the ancestral world, so it'd be the ancestral inheritance, which of the collective unconscious. That idea that each lived life has a resonance that changes all life that follows after, and that's really how evolution occurs. And these were instruments whose resonance at the time they were made changed all life after they were created. And then you combine that with the rhythms that are expressed in what's funny, that Chinese and Norwegian are two of languages that use musical notes in them. They actually go up and down in their pitch. Norwegian, not so much, only amongst young people. You can really hear it. But so there's that aspect of this wonderful aspect of the notes that go up and down in pitch that move us, and the rhythms, and it's painted not on canvas but on silence. So Tim, who normally paints on canvas, is now going to lead a group who paints on silence. And he does it. It's not going to just be that kind of music, though. It's going to be connected with the lived experiences of Kairos moments of human beings. And it's also then combined with these wonderful high points of the instruments of production of these rhythms. What do you think, Charles? Oh, well, you're going to have the last word. Go ahead. I went on too much.
Okay, well, then I'll just comment next time because I had questions for Tim. So,
well, why don't you just ask a couple?
Well, I first kind of see the whole situation as just like life and like the creative aspect of life in general. And I was going to ask Tim, do you find people's like stories of people's painful experiences, do you find that as like material that really sparks creativity in you and makes you want to express things like that?
Oh, yes. By far,
Okay.
I'm more inspired by pain than anything else.
By the lived experience of, because, you know, like I'll just finish with Agnella Yaffe says, the only way we learn is through sorrow, never through joy. She says, you don't learn through joy. It's too fleeting, but sorrow, you know, is changes us forever. There's a huge aspect of a humbling, you know, and well, anyway, fabulous dreams. I mean, Gary and Charles and Tim, and then Roy, we need one of your elemental dreams. So he said he kind of lost it after the Bob Richardson thing, you know, but hopefully something comes
No,
back.
Dr. Ray.
Dr. Ray. Yeah, okay. All right. Well, hopefully something comes. But anyway, thanks everybody. We'll see you Monday. Okay. Bye,
All right,
guys.
thanks.
Bye,
Bye.
Charles,
See you.
Gary, Tim, Roy.